As Jeff. I'm doing a reply to a LinkedIn post that was based on discussing, the resistance to change. I think it's Miguel. You're the one that actually mentioned this thing. And I want to reply to at least with this first video. And this really corresponds well because I actually have on my list of publications in the upcoming publications section a book, well, probably a video, a video series like the other ones have become, on trends in organizational change management. Yeah, I've been working on that, been thinking about this one too for a long time. And I've made a few videos and other books that I've worked on that begin to touch this topic on leadership versus management and all that kind of stuff. And I made other videos on the people daring to call out things and all that. So I've made a few of those, and these all kind of fit into this book, right? It's not gonna be this. I'm not gonna write a book because writing books just takes years, and with the red pen syndrome, it just never ends, right? So with reviewers and all that stuff, it takes so long to get out. It just takes way too long to get out. To be able to have impact, and sometimes by the end to get it out, it's out of obsolete. Not quite in this kind of field, but this happens to happen. Technology topics. That's why I do the video series. But I think that I've been seeing the restaurant here, so it's gonna have a little background noise. Sorry, but that's where I'm at. I make these videos this kind of way, right? So the resistance to change, and you mentioned in here in the localization field, but really this is everywhere, right? I mean, the whole resistance to change, and it kind of depends on how a a country, national culture, values change or not, and then how a subculture, and that subculture can be a regional area, or it can be a field, or a domain, or a sector, or something like that. How that entity, or whatever you want to call this thing, values change or not. And sometimes change is embraced, and how a team, right, values change or not, right? A team in whatever type of institution, how they value change, and I've come into a lot of teams. I think I've had, when I counted up, I've had 18 employers, and I've had over 30 different positions, and it's way more than that. I start thinking of it, it's probably 40. Now you start counting them up, because I've been in a lot of different industries and sectors and fields and whatever you want to call these things, and have a lot of different types of roles in a lot of different fields, and a lot of them is even auditing things, and then being a change agent of things, and instigating change, right? Which can be accepted or not in different cultures, right? So that can be in different countries, that can be accepted or not, and having to adapt that to different cultures. That's always fun, right? And change is one of the things. So European cultures, my experience is that European cultures are less favorable to change, less conducive to change than as Anglo-Saxon cultures, which love change, right? Because and especially I'll say the North American Anglo-Saxon cultures, where it was the whole thing was the Industrial Revolution is what made the whole thing happen, right? That it was thriving on change, right? Whereas other, I don't want to go to all the different flavors of the Commonwealth and the things, and have different Anglo-Saxon cultures, but there are those that thrive more on change and really value change, versus the other cultures that do not like change. And this is just I'm making general statements right now. In there, you can have a lot of people. You can have some people that are different than that. That they're national culture. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but I'm saying there are tendencies and trends. And so here, there are. What I've done is I've made another. I probably should take one of these videos. I made another one. I made in a completely different book, and I made it very customized. I really need to go and slice out a few statements out of that, just out of the video, and actually put it here in the series here, because it was very relevant about how different roles So I'll just make it very well. I'll just make a kind of brief statement here, and then I'll probably take that other video and slice out the 10 sentences that were too customized and that field, and just then slice that and become another video, right? Um, there are certain roles that are going to be change agents or not, right? So, and I talked about this in leaderships versus managers. Managers are people to manage resources, right? To resources, whether it may be people, assets, teams, whatever things, right? Even funding, right? But strategy leaders are people that are change agents, right? They're the ones that strategize, right? The real leaders. I mean, they're leaders and leaders, right? But those that strategize and provide strategy, provide vision, and they are change agents, and those that are good at it, right? Not saying those have the title. I'm saying those are good at it. And you can have people that are good leaders and managers, and you can have people that are only one good and one or the other, right? And you have people that are not good in either, right? But here it's important to see that change is going to be valued if it's embraced by the leadership. Okay, the leadership. Now it has to be true. It hasn't been just something you just say. It's just the kind of just something you just kind of say and don't do, right? If it's really valued and pushed for, then change will be embraced. And that can be in a company, an institution, or whatever, an institution, and even a country. And there are times where it's not valued, right? And then look at some dictatorships where change is only based on the dictator making the decision, right? And others not. And others not being able to and say anything, right? So I think that this is something to take into consideration. And I'm coming from, this point of view. I'm coming from a first world point of view, right, on this. But I have worked a lot with third world countries, right? And that's a whole different scenario, right? I'll be honest, that's a whole different scenario because they are usually, depending upon certain leadership situations that are not always favorable to some things, and that's always tough. And some people are going to be vocal, and others not. But a lot comes down to is how people, if they value change or not, and it's okay to not value change. It's okay. It's fine. But in some things, right? But in others, it's actually won't work. In some cultures, it just won't work to not value change because it's valued, right? It's actually expected. So here, coming back to the localization industry, this whole industry. Now, watch my videos on where I talk about the visibility in the visibility in the translation industry and all that. And we're in a visibility rut, and here a lot of things have been what I've mentioned in other videos about this field. And I got another series on my WordShare tips on my YouTube channel where I talk about in business tips and all that stuff. I talk about how this industry has been affected by the whole price per word thing has just haunted this industry for at least 30 years, right? At least. Mark Homnack started talking about this and commodity-based pricing stuff in 1999, right? And he was talking about at least different talks and conference talks. He was already talking about this. And a lot of us have been talking about this ever since, in all ways. But this whole thing has focused this whole thing into, what they got to do by price per word, if it's price per word. And we can't get out of this rut, right? Well, we can. We just choose not to. Well, some of us choose to, and some of us have done it, right, successfully. But so there's a lot of kind of in the people in this industry, they don't move around very much. They stay in the industry because that's what their skills are. And so it creates this bubble, right, where very few people, and I've been in and out of this field, right, this language industry or field for many, jumping into telecom, doing other things, doing GIS systems, geographic information systems, or business analytics, or business intelligence, or predictive stuff, or finance products, or whatever. So I've kind of done other things too, right? And so this has allowed me to see different perspectives. A lot of people have been in this industry, that's all they've done for their career. And so they're locked into the mindset of how this industry functions, right? So that creates resistance to change, or at least not feeling that you can be a change agent. I think that's really important. So, and I think what some are doing right now, and we've seen this with the insights with Renato and Tucker kind of pushing for things, and seeing others with Don at Common Sense and others, they're pushing to reveal how things are, like reports about it, and providing services that try to push things in other directions, sales, and you can see a lot of people giving. Even training classes on how to be a salespeople and all that. And we got lots of people here in the industry that are doing this. I mean, there are more doing this, right? Um, and this requires an acceptance and tolerance for change and a willingness to want to change and want to do it that way. So this and this is just one industry, okay? And there are other industries that are resistant to change too. There are cultures there. I worked at Caterpillar, right? So yeah, that's about as intolerant to change because it's based in the Midwest, right, in the heartland of America. Um, and so there are a lot of resistance to change. Even living here was a challenge with what I brought my French wife for. There was like a big challenge. We were like some of the only foreigners, right? And it was just really weird for us. And I'd grown up in the States. It just was. It was a subculture, a region that it was kind of difficult to live in for some things because I lived in a very just changing all the time and work in other cultures and come back as like a really weird experience. We moved to Pittsburgh and it was like, wow, this is so fun. And it's just there are certain industries, certain fields, certain companies, certain things that will want to keep things stable, and change isn't always welcome. So this is a really interesting topic. I really glad you brought this up, and I think it it has a lot of skins on the onion, right? You got to peel them off and figure them out, and they're always not simple. So this is something that's just worth talking about, debating, and seeing how different cultures see it. I think and how different subcultures see it, and the different subcultures I've talked about right in this video. There are different subcultures, and they all have different perspectives, and sometimes some will embrace it, and sometimes they won't. And then the companies and the institutions, it all comes down to it depends on how your leadership is of your institution, right? Whether it may be government or NGO or association, nonprofit, a business, a small business, a big business, a corporation, whatever. It depends on how your leadership values this, right? And I've worked in a lot of them and seen how different leaders do it. And those that embrace change, the ones that favor change, make it conducive, and that don't, well, it's what it is, right? So and it's less conducive, and it won't, and people are sometimes fearful of pushing for change because they feel to get reprimanded and reproached by people that will tell them not to push for change, right? So, and it depends too if you're in a central service for others or not, or if you're in a remote, and sometimes the central takes and it depends on your organization or a area, the department that wants to keep things stable and wants to harmonize everything. It depends if you want to harmonize and stabilize everything and standardize everything or not. Because when you want to standardize things, you're not necessarily pushing for change. You're pushing for harmonization to keep everything stable, right? And the way it is. But if you're in other places that are very innovative or not, then you're going to push for change, right? This is the way it is. So it's always this. It's a tension factor, right? It's a tug of war, push and pull. So always fun. It's great. Love talking about it and sharing my experience on it, and seeing how to evolve in this whole moving target, right? So great. Thanks so much.